another thing I wanted to ask you is, do you think we might actually see a collapse of the monetary system? Because, you know, a lot of like alternative communities or conspiracy people, they were talking about it for a long time. But, you know, looking at the situation this year, like, you know, first wave of lockdowns, already like so many businesses went bust and are suffering. And now, like, you know, we just entered autumn and soon winter in the northern hemisphere, and we already see spikes almost everywhere, much beyond the maximum in the past. So, you know, if the trajectory continues, like, you know, we might see within 2 months, like three times the numbers that we see now with the virus, which, you know, would mean that probably, you know, there's going to be some really insane restrictions everywhere again, which would mean that, you know, a lot of people would lose their jobs and a lot of businesses would go bust. And it could create, you know, even greater resistance, you know, upheavals. And, you know, I'm just thinking maybe we actually might see even a collapse of the system. I don't know. What's your view about it?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because collapse of a system has always been when I first even heard of these ideas, I was like, this was back in the day, and I think we even talked about this quite a bit. It was the idea of like, how is it going to happen? What is it going to look like? Is it just going to one day be like what we saw in 2008, 2009, where the stock market just starts to fall apart, and then everyone goes, oh, wait a minute. And then all these businesses start to having to fire people, and loans are being called in and mortgages are collapsing and people are losing homes. And, this is a very chaotic way to look at it. And if that happened on a greater scale, holy crap, what would that look like? What would that be like? And, that's one way of looking at how this could happen. Another way of looking at how this could happen would be kind of like how the World Economic Forum has this great reset plan of creating another economic system. And there's been ideas floating around. There's been people who have been analyzing, what this could mean and what this could look like and how it's going to happen. And of course, we don't entirely know. But there's also cryptocurrency there. Whereas if there's enough of a shakeup, would people start moving towards that? And then would enough of a community grow there? Could that really become a viable option? I don't know. It seems again, that is complicated. I do think we're seeing, let's put it this way, there's no secret that the economy, when it comes to politics, when it comes to everyday life, which really means money moving around all over the place, creating productivity, right? That is the basis of what drives everything in our entire reality. And so if you can have the economy go through something or have a level of instability, you're going to have some of the greatest motivation to have deep, meaningful conversation about what we're supposed to do here. And so I think the economy and the instability within an economy is an incredible catalyst for change. Politicians, sorry, it cut out for a second, but politicians are always trying to say like, oh, the economy's so great. I'm going to build the economy. The economy is amazing. Oh, I look at the booming economy we've created, right? Because they know that if the economy seems stable, then there's really not really that many important conversations to be had. Whereas if the economy seems like it's in a mess, really, really bad, and there's not really a plan to fix it, then it opens up a lot of conversation for, hold on, heads got to roll here. What are we going to do? So the economy, from my perspective, happens to be one of the biggest societal structures, the societal influences that is a catalyst for change when it is at a certain point. And unfortunately for the people that like everything to be stable, that point is it's a catalyst when it's unstable, when there's a lot of problems. So if you were to look at kind of what has happened over the course of time with COVID, if you were to look at these deep sort of shift, awakening type questions, awakening type observations, and then you were to insert the economy into that and say, well, imagine this thing now really becomes like a nothing burger and it's a huge problem and everybody's struggling. People are going to go, okay, you know what? maybe I can't wait for government. Maybe I don't know what to do anymore. I got to take things into my own hands, right? And maybe they start local communities. Maybe people start like, I think people will organize in a peaceful manner a lot more quickly and a lot more widespread than people might think. This isn't to say that there won't be people who are crazy and looting and doing, I mean, we've already been seeing that happening in the United States, right? But I do think that people are going to find more of a, let's come together in communities, let's solve a lot of these challenges, let's solve a lot of these problems that are going on. If the economy were to collapse, or if the economy were to, like, what does collapse mean? Is collapse, how is it defined? At what point are we saying, okay, the economy has collapsed? That's kind of maybe one of the best ways to sort of even say, will the economy collapse? Because we don't really know what that means across the board, right? So, UBI is an interesting conversation, perhaps at a minimal amount as a potential transitionary step to a completely different system. But this would have to be in the quote unquote control of people that are not trying to just maintain this sort of insane, really, economic system the way it is today. So I could see how someone could make a short-term argument as a transition while we're figuring things out, but it definitely can't be here's a solution to a lot of the challenges that we have today, because we're still not addressing any of the core challenges of the way our system functions, which I believe the ultimate core challenge is, what is the internal narrative, internal story, the belief system that you have as a person about how humanity should function, about who we are, about why we're here, and what society we're supposed to live in. That is the biggest core that has to change. But beyond that, you start getting into the infrastructural ideas as well.